Right now, while you're reading this, the wealthiest people in America are quietly slipping out of Manhattan, Los Angeles, and Chicago. No press releases, no headlines, just private movers, cash offers, and jets pointed at Florida. But they're not landing in Miami or Palm Beach like you'd expect. They're vanishing into tiny towns most Americans can't even find on a map. 10 small towns hiding in plain sight. And by the end of this video, you'll finally understand exactly why. Number 10. Windermere. Tucked between a chain of glassy lakes just west of Orlando, Windermere is the kind of place you could drive past 100 times and never notice. That's exactly the point. This town of roughly 3,000 people has quietly become a magnet for the seriously wealthy, and most of the country has no idea it exists. The streets here are still unpaved dirt roads in places, a deliberate choice by residents who could easily afford asphalt but prefer the illusion that nothing has changed since the 1920s. Behind the moss-draped oaks sit estates owned by professional athletes, executives, and old money families who value one thing above all else: being left completely alone. Golf legends have called it home, so have basketball stars and business tycoons who wanted lake access without the paparazzi. What's driving the newest wave of arrivals is a mix of privacy, no state income tax, and proximity to Orlando's private aviation hubs. You can be on a plane in 20 minutes and nobody in town blinks. The homes ranging from $3 million to well over $15 million rarely hit the open market. They trade quietly, agent to agent, buyer to buyer, the way real wealth prefers. Local realtors describe waiting lists for lakefront lots that almost never open up. For a 40-something couple selling a cramped northeastern property, the appeal is obvious: space, water, warmth, and total anonymity, all within a short drive of world-class dining and airports. Windermere doesn't advertise itself. It doesn't need to. Word travels through country clubs and boardrooms, and slowly, steadily, the money keeps arriving. It sits at number 10 not because it's the flashiest, but because it perfectly captures the trend we're about to explore: quiet towns, quiet money, and a migration nobody's talking about openly. And it only gets stranger. Number 9. Ponte Vedra Beach. Drive south from Jacksonville along the Atlantic and you'll hit 12 miles of coastline that feels almost impossibly untouched for modern Florida. Ponte Vedra Beach doesn't have neon signs or spring break crowds. What it has is some of the best-rated schools in the state, championship golf, and a stretch of sand that stays remarkably quiet even in peak season. That combination is pulling in a very specific kind of buyer right now: affluent families in their 40s and 50s who are done with harsh winters and eye-watering tax bills up north. Relocation specialists working the area report a steady climb in arrivals from New York, New Jersey, and the Midwest. People who did the math and realized Florida's zero income tax could save them a fortune every single year. Unlike the billionaire enclaves further south, Ponte Vedra sells a slightly different dream. It's understated luxury for people who still want their kids in excellent schools and their weekends spent on the fairway rather than the front page. Home prices have marched steadily upward, with oceanfront properties commanding premiums that would have seemed absurd a decade ago. Yet buyers keep coming, drawn by a lifestyle that feels earned rather than flashy. The town centers around golf, the ocean, and a tight-knit community that welcomes newcomers as long as they respect the calm. There's a reason so many corporate executives and retired professionals choose this stretch over louder alternatives. It offers the financial advantages of Florida without the circus. For a generation raised on the idea that success means privacy and stability, Ponte Vedra checks every box. It's not trying to be the Hamptons or Palm Beach. It's building something quieter and, to many buyers, far more livable. Which is exactly why it keeps climbing our list. Real quick, if you're enjoying this countdown so far, smash that subscribe button and drop a like. It genuinely helps the channel, and trust me, the top 3 towns are the real jaw-droppers. Number 8. Santa Rosa Beach. Along Florida's Panhandle runs a 2-lane road called Scenic Highway 30A, and somewhere in the last few years it stopped being a local secret and started being called the Hamptons of the South. Santa Rosa Beach sits at the heart of it, the largest of the string of coastal villages stretched along that emerald green water. For decades, this region carried an unflattering nickname, the Redneck Riviera. Nobody calls it that anymore. Today, sugar-white sand and rare coastal dune lakes draw a flood of wealthy newcomers, many arriving from Atlanta, Nashville, and increasingly the Northeast, now that nonstop flights connect the area to New York.
What makes Santa Rosa Beach different is the architecture and the rules protecting it. Strict design codes and 4-story height caps mean no towering condos block the view, no chaos crowds the shoreline. The result is a low-density, walkable luxury that money simply cannot manufacture overnight. Go-front homes routinely start well past $1.5 million and climb into the 8-figure range in the premier pockets nearby. Buyers here aren't just chasing beauty, they're chasing a lifestyle where you bike to dinner, know your neighbors, and watch the sun sink into the Gulf without a single high-rise interrupting the horizon. For the 40-plus crowd, especially those with grown or growing kids and money to protect, it's an intoxicating kitsch. Florida tax advantages, genuine natural beauty, and a community that feels curated rather than commercial. Developers have taken notice, pouring money into new resort communities that push prices even higher. Longtime residents worry about the crowds. Newcomers see paradise. Either way, the transformation is undeniable and accelerating. Santa Rosa Beach proves this wealth migration isn't confined to the famous southern coast. It's spreading, quietly reshaping stretches of Florida most Americans have never even considered visiting.
Number 7. Boca Grande. If you want to understand old money in Florida, you go to Boca Grande. Perched on Gasparilla Island off the state's southwest coast, this town is so exclusive and so deliberately hidden that many wealthy Floridians don't even know how to get there. There's a single causeway, a toll, and then a world that feels frozen in a gentler century. No traffic lights, no chain restaurants, golf carts outnumber cars. The famous banyan trees arch over quiet streets lined with historic cottages and understated mansions that whisper wealth rather than shout it. For generations, this has been a retreat for some of America's most prominent families, including political dynasties who valued the town precisely because nobody bothered them here. That reputation is now pulling in a fresh wave of affluent buyers who are exhausted by the noise of flashier destinations. What they find in Boca Grande is something increasingly rare: genuine privacy, world-class tarpon fishing, and a community that actively resists overdevelopment. Homes here command staggering prices, with waterfront properties trading in the multi-millions, yet the town refuses to let itself become a spectacle. That restraint is the entire appeal. Newcomers in their 40s, 50s, and beyond describe it as stepping into a slower, safer version of the American dream, a place where children ride bikes unsupervised and neighbors still know each other by name. The wealth here doesn't announce itself with supercars or gold-plated everything. It shows up as a perfectly maintained 1920s cottage, a classic wooden boat, and a family that's summered here for decades. As the rest of Florida grows louder and more crowded, Boca Grande's quiet exclusivity only becomes more valuable. It's the antidote to modern excess, and the discerning rich are quietly buying in before the secret fully escapes.
Number 6. Vero Beach. For years, wealthy New Yorkers heading to Florida had one automatic destination: Palm Beach. That's changing fast, and Vero Beach is the reason. Sitting along the Treasure Coast, roughly 90 minutes north of the Palm Beach frenzy, this town spent decades so overlooked that locals jokingly called it Zero Beach because there was so little to do. Nobody's laughing now. A quiet revitalization has transformed the downtown, with new restaurants, boutique hotels, and a cultural scene that punches far above the town's modest size. Affluent buyers from Manhattan, Westchester, Connecticut, and New Jersey are discovering that Vero offers nearly everything Palm Beach does, without the congestion, the crushing prices, or the relentless spotlight. Real estate agents describe a genuine migration underway. Buyers who want oceanfront living and cultural richness, but crave discretion. The numbers back it up. Population has swelled with high-net-worth arrivals, fleeing high-tax northern states, drawn by Florida's zero income tax and a pace of life that feels human again. What sets Vero apart is its refusal to become gaudy. This is a town of art galleries and independent bookshops, not velvet ropes and valet lines. For someone in their 50s selling an expensive northern home, the appeal is powerful. Trade the gray winters and steep taxes for beachfront sunshine, keep more of your money, and still enjoy a sophisticated community that values culture over flash. Home values have climbed steadily as demand intensifies, yet Vero remains a relative bargain next to its glitzier southern neighbors. That value gap is exactly what's fueling the influx. Buyers feel like they're getting in early, catching a town right as it's blossoming, rather than after it's been priced into the stratosphere. Vero Beach is proof that the smartest money often moves quietly and always a step ahead of the crowd. Number 5. Parkland. Just northwest of Fort Lauderdale, pressed right up against the wild edge of the Everglades, sits a town that recently earned a remarkable title, the richest small town in all of Florida. Parkland claimed that crown thanks to a median household income north of $200,000 and average home values exceeding $1 million, figures that tower over state averages. But numbers only tell part of the story. What draws the wealthy to Parkland is a rare blend of manicured suburban perfection and genuine natural wilderness. On one side, you have polished neighborhoods, top-tier schools, and everyday green space. On the other, the vast sawgrass of the Everglades, where residents can spot alligators and wading birds before lunch. It's polished without being pretentious, exclusive without feeling sealed off. That balance is exactly what today's affluent families are chasing. Rather than the ultra-flashy enclaves further south, Parkland attracts successful professionals in their 40s and 50s who want space, safety, excellent education for their children, and a strong sense of community. The town has strict development standards designed to preserve that suburban meets nature character, which keeps demand high and inventory tight. Families relocating from the Northeast and Midwest describe it as finding the perfect middle ground, close enough to the energy of South Florida's coast, yet far enough to feel like a peaceful retreat. Weekends here might mean a farmer's market in the morning and gator spotting by afternoon. Home prices have climbed sharply as more high earners discover it, yet buyers keep competing for the chance to live here. Parkland doesn't have oceanfront mansions or billionaire headlines. What it has is something arguably more sustainable, a genuinely livable, wealthy community built around family, nature, and quiet prosperity. And in a state obsessed with glitz, that grounded appeal is turning out to be incredibly valuable.
Number 4. Naples. Once a sleepy fishing village on Florida's Gulf Coast, Naples has quietly reinvented itself into one of the most exclusive communities in the entire country. Locals and real estate insiders now call it the Palm Beach of the Gulf Coast, and the comparison is earning itself daily. What was once a modest snowbird retreat for retirees has become a genuine magnet for billionaires, drawn by Gulf-front mansions, a thriving cultural scene, and a brand of low-profile opulence that money-conscious buyers find irresistible. Naples offers something its Atlantic coast rivals struggle to match: sunset views over the Gulf, a walkable downtown packed with world-class dining and art, and a slower, more refined atmosphere that appeals directly to affluent buyers in their 40s and beyond. The luxury real estate market here has exploded, with waterfront estates commanding tens of millions, and the ultra-wealthy increasingly paying cash, sight unseen. Wealth managers point to Naples as a rising hub for high-net-worth individuals fleeing high-tax states, lured by Florida's financial advantages and a lifestyle that feels both indulgent and grounded. Unlike the frenetic energy of Miami, Naples sells serenity: pristine beaches, championship golf, and manicured neighborhoods where discretion is prized above spectacle. That's precisely why so many successful executives and retired professionals are choosing it for their next chapter. They want warmth, water, and wealth preservation, without the circus of flashier destinations. The town has responded with a wave of high-end development, from luxury condominiums to sprawling gated estates, yet it carefully guards the charm that made it desirable in the first place. For a generation looking to trade cold winters and heavy taxes for Gulf breezes and financial breathing room, Naples has become the obvious answer. It's proof that Florida's wealth migration isn't just about the Atlantic coast. Some of the biggest money is flowing quietly west.
Number 3. Jupiter Island.
North of Palm Beach's fanfare along Florida's Treasure Coast lies a slender barrier island in Martin County that most Americans have never heard of, yet nearly every A-lister seems to know intimately. Jupiter Island is where the truly famous go to disappear. The roster of residents reads like a hall of fame across sports, music, and business. Golf's biggest legend, tennis champions, one of the world's richest technology founders, and Grammy-winning musicians have all called this tiny stretch of sand home. What draws them isn't nightlife or scene, it's the opposite. Jupiter Island offers extreme privacy, pristine beaches, and a level of security that lets globally recognizable people live something close to a normal life. Estates here sit behind lush landscaping and long driveways, many with private ocean and intercoastal frontage, trading for tens of millions when they trade at all. And they rarely do. Properties pass quietly among an elite circle, and simply getting a foot in the door often requires connections rather than just capital. The newest wave of arrivals includes not only celebrities, but also investors and executives who value the island's discretion above everything. For wealthy buyers in their 40s and 50s, the pitch is intoxicating. Some of the most beautiful, protected coastline in Florida, combined with neighbors who understand the value of never talking about who lives where. There are no flashy storefronts, no tourist traps, just miles of quiet luxury and a community fiercely committed to keeping it that way. As other Florida towns grow louder and more crowded, Jupiter Island's untouchable exclusivity only rises in value. It represents the ultimate destination for people who already have everything and now want just one thing more: to be left completely, gloriously alone. And remarkably, it isn't even the most exclusive place on this list.
Number 2, Fisher Island. You cannot drive to number 2. There is no bridge, no road, no way in except by private ferry or yacht. Fisher Island sits just off Miami Beach, a tiny speck of land that consistently ranks as the single wealthiest community in Florida and among the richest in all of America. Once the private estate of a Vanderbilt heir, this island of a few hundred residents has become the ultimate symbol of untouchable exclusivity. To live here, you don't just buy a home, you buy access to a world sealed off from everyone else. Residents enjoy a private beach imported from the Bahamas, a members-only club, a marina for their yachts, and a level of security that makes the outside world feel very far away. What's fascinating about the newest wave of buyers is how young some of them are becoming. Where Fisher Island once skewed toward older, established fortunes, it's now drawing a fresh generation of the young and rich, tech founders, finance stars, and international buyers who want the privacy their parents' generation prized, but with a more modern energy. Condominiums and residences here trade in the millions and tens of millions, and simply the average income of residents dwarfs almost anywhere else in the nation. For high-net-worth individuals, the island's appeal is almost primal. Total separation from the mainland's noise, combined with Miami's glamour just a short ferry ride away. You get the sunshine, the tax advantages, and the ocean wrapped inside a fortress of privacy that money alone can barely buy. Every arrival must be ferried in, every guest accounted for, every square foot fiercely protected. In a state where the wealthy are constantly seeking deeper seclusion, Fisher Island offers the deepest of all. And yet, incredibly, one town has managed to outshine even this. Let's get to number 1.
Number 1, Manalapan. Blink while driving south of Palm Beach and you'll miss it entirely. Manalapan is barely 2.4 square miles, home to fewer than 400 residents, and it has quietly become the single hottest billionaire destination in all of Florida. The catalyst has a name: Larry Ellison. The Oracle founder and one of the richest people on Earth began snapping up property here in 2022, starting with a 16-acre oceanfront estate for a jaw-dropping $173 million. He didn't stop. His investment in the tiny town now reportedly approaches $450 million, including a landmark luxury resort he plans to transform into a magnet for the ultra-wealthy. When a man like that plants a flag, the world's richest people follow. Suddenly, this once sleepy enclave, long overshadowed by glitzier Palm Beach next door, is drawing celebrities, CEOs, media moguls, and billionaires, all competing for a sliver of oceanfront.
Mansions that once sat quietly are now selling for $20 million and up, shattering local records and rewriting expectations. What makes Manalapan so coveted is a rare trio: extreme privacy, staggering exclusivity, and a location just 20 minutes from Mar-a-Lago, placing resident at the very center of American power and wealth. With so few homes and so much demand, simply getting in requires deep pockets and deeper patience. For the world's elite, that scarcity is the entire point. This isn't a town you stumble into. It's one you're quietly invited to join, if you can afford the price of admission and the wait. Manalapan represents the purest expression of everything we've explored today: quiet money, fierce privacy, and a migration reshaping Florida one tiny town at a time. The wealthiest people alive have chosen it, and that tells you everything about where this trend is truly headed.
So what does all of this actually tell us? Across every town on this list, from quiet Windermere to billionaire-backed Manalapan, the same pattern repeats. America's wealthy aren't just chasing sunshine anymore. They're chasing privacy, financial freedom from crushing state taxes, and a slower, safer, more meaningful way of life. They're trading crowded cities and cold winters for towns where neighbors know your name and the ocean is your backyard. And here's the part worth remembering. Many of these places were overlooked, even mocked, just a few years ago. The smartest money didn't wait for the headlines. It moved early, quietly, and decisively. Whether you're dreaming of a warmer future or simply fascinated by where power and wealth are flowing, Florida's small towns are telling a story the rest of the country is only beginning to notice. The migration is real, it's accelerating, and it's reshaping the map. The only question left is simple: who's paying attention and who's already too late? If you made it all the way to number 1, you're exactly the kind of person I make these videos for. So do me 3 quick favors. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a deep dive like this one. Drop a comment telling me which town surprised you the most, and share this video with someone who needs to see where the smart money is really moving. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.